Welcome to Groove with Portia, the podcast that uncovers the hidden treasures within grief. I'm your host, Portia the producer, and I'm inviting you to join me on a transformative journey where we will exchange laughter, of course, the best medicine of them all. Reflect on cherished memories. Remember that time that the little boy grabbed my hand instead of his mother's at the amusement park? Yikes. And of course, discover gratitude while navigating one of life's hardest challenges, loss. So get ready to groove with me, Portia the producer. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Groove with Portia. I am your host, Portia Booker, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep up with all things Groove with Portia. Curious for all of you out there, how many of you have been a part of the I'm Fine Club? And I'm not talking about the Fine as Wine Club. I'm talking about I'm fine even though my world is falling apart. I'm overwhelmed. I'm feeling burned out. All the things that keep us pushed down from living out our full potential. How many of us continue to be a part of the busy crew, knowing that the I'm Fine Club continues to hold a membership burning a hole in our pockets? Let that sink in for today. So for all of you today, I'm joined by an individual who is no stranger to the Overwhelm and Burned Out Club. She is a stress management and DNA-based nutrition expert who I just happened to meet through the podcast space. So welcome, Miss Lane Kennedy, to Groove with Portia. Lane, how are you today?
So good. It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Lane, for our audience who's tuning in, you haven't always occupied the space that you've been in. And I want to take a minute to honor the path that you are on today. When you think back on that season where you were overwhelmed, burned out, what do you want people to remember? And what do you also want to remember about how far you've come and what you've learned from that transitional period?
That is so much. That's a big question that's layered. I can look back just a couple of years, very specifically to the burnout and the pace at which I was moving. And I remember very distinctly somebody telling me, Lane, this is not sustainable. Like you are on 24/7. You are managing a high profile wellness group. You have your own business. You're being of service. You're volunteering. You're like, it's not sustainable. And I just was like blinded because I thought I was doing all the things. And mind you, I'm a stress management teacher, right? I talk about this stuff. And so when this person told me this, I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I got it.
An I'm Fine membership.
So, right. So it, that kind of attitude, the cavalierness of I'm fine, the way that we are in society now, I've got this. Nobody has this. Nobody has this. And it is a wake-up call to all of humanity that we are burning and frying out. And I see it every single day. And the last, I collapsed. I found myself in the ER and I was bedbound for a couple of months, and you don't know what you don't know. And then you wake up and you're like, oh my God, here I am. Now what do I do? And I've had to really assess and learn how to live my life differently and shut it down. Like I have to shut things down and say no to things where I would have never done that before, Portia. I would have been like, yes, of course I can do that. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can respond to that email. Now, I don't care if I have 10, 15, 50 emails in my inbox. People have to wait. And it's interesting because people want answers right now, right? Because we're so used to it. We've trained everybody, our society, our colleagues, that we're on alert, we're on response, which no, we don't have to respond. We don't have to respond for 24 hours, 48 hours, or a week. There is nothing urgent unless the house is burning down.
Okay. Okay. And Lane, I love how you reinforced this notion of I've got this. Mm-hmm. And you thought the same thing, right? That you're running your business, you're working with high profile people, you're volunteering. I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
have children and family, but
Yes.
you're juggling that too. And
Yes.
then all of a sudden you end up on the hot mess express in the ER.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here you are, right? Where so many people, I don't think, recognize that,
Mm.
if you want to call it people pleasing, I think that people pleasing notion of saying yes. And I think us women got it bad.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's I think it's really sneaky,
Yeah.
you know. I think I mean I grew up on my own taking care of business, making sure things got done. So from the time I was 10 years old. So, a couple decades into my life, it's my life. I don't recognize it as anything different. But when, I got involved with this wellness group and like there's personalities that are very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in that, you don't say no, right? And I consider myself to be a strong woman. Like I have good boundaries. And I didn't realize that I was doing that people pleasing under the authority of this narcissist that I was being kind of led by. And when I put the pieces together, again, that very wise woman said to me, I think you're like in a cult. I think you're kind of under the thumb of this like guru. And I was like, no, never, not me. But now, like again, 20 hindsight, right? It's like, yeah, 1,000%. And I didn't even
Mm,
recognize it, didn't even see it.
mm.
Yeah.
And isn't that crazy, Lane, how we end up, and I think you said it, it's that subtleness,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't immediately show itself like when you're
Mm-hmm.
driving, you see the red stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
It's those slow little injections.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're piling up, right?
Yeah.
And Lane, I think that overwhelm and stress work the same way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Overwhelm
Mm.
is, it doesn't just come on you suddenly,
No.
right? It slowly starts with not being able to respond to all the emails, right? As I
Yeah.
mentioned to you in the beginning, all the
Yeah.
different email pitches I get a day of
Yeah.
people wanting to be a guest on the show, right? Then it's, working with the demand in the business. If you're trying to expand, if you're a one person band show, right? So it slowly is
Mm-hmm.
piling up. I think of it like Jenga, the game
Yes.
Jenga. That's what it makes me
Yes.
think of. And
Yes.
I'm curious, Lane, from the standpoint that you're in, and you work with different individuals to help them kind of manage their stress and overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of those maybe hidden signs in the body
Yeah.
that are showing that overwhelm, that stress? Because I think some people only
Yeah.
think it's here, but it
No, it's all
starts
over.
here.
It's all over the place. Yeah. Especially sleep disruption is number
Mm,
one thing, that I see. And I had sleep disruption, but I blamed it on my hormones. I blamed it on, the dogs barking in the middle of the night. Like there was a bunch of, other things, but the consistency of that sleep disruption or the not getting well rested nights and then having that compound. Right. And again, I was like, oh, it's fine. I'll nap during the day. I meditate during the day, right? Like I meditate. So that takes care of it. But in reality, that not sleeping changes everything, the biochemical processes in your body. So from there, the other thing that I see a lot and is tightness in the jaw and migraine headaches. Migraine headaches, if you have a migraine headache, you have a stress problem. Like you have an overwhelm problem. You you're in trouble. And a lot of times a doctor will just say, take this medicine, go into a dark room. It'll change. But no, that's not going to change. You have to look at your stress. You have to think about what can I do differently, and that takes work. That takes a timeout. People don't have time to take a timeout. And then you get to my position where the body says you're taking a timeout. I'm putting you down. Like I'm done playing here.
Right. What's this saying? If you don't make time for your wellness, you're going to make time for your illness.
Yeah, that's it.
And like,
You got to figure it out.
I'm glad you brought up sleep because let's talk about sleep really quick.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions about sleep and actual rest. Because
Yeah.
there's all the studies, right? Of is it 8 hours every night?
Mm.
But I mean, Lane, what would you say that somebody can really gauge a restful night? It may not even be 8 hours.
No, it doesn't have to be 8 hours, but you wake up in the morning and you want to get after it. You are excited about life. You are like, yes, I can go run 5 miles right now and I don't need a cup of coffee. Like that is the difference between resting and you could 3 hours, 4 hours. I talk a lot about like the sleep window and finding your sleep window. Once you find that and you lock it in, and then and again, it could be 4 hours, it could be 6 hours. It's your body, which is bioengineered, biogenetically your body. It's like no one else's. So maybe you're going to bed early and your spouse is going to bed late and you wake up early. It just doesn't matter. It's you. Yeah.
Len, it's funny that you bring up about the opposite sleep schedules because I'm
Mm-hmm.
somebody who's an early bird. I'm up
Mm-hmm.
between 4 and 6
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
every day, even on the weekends.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody who I may not always get 8 hours of sleep, but if I
Mm-hmm.
get that solid about 5 to 6.5 hours,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, I am Superman. I can take on the world. I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited. Then I know that I'm
Yeah.
on a good trajectory.
Yeah.
But
If you're, yeah, if you have dropped into that restorative sleep stage, which you usually have a good two or three of them, at the beginning, if you get that juicy sleep, you don't need 8 hours, right? It's, but you got to get that deep, deep sleep first.
And I think, Lane, I love how you brought up too about the level of accountability. You have to
Mm,
take inventory of your stress, right? The
yes.
doctor's going to
Yes.
tell you, okay, you need to take whatever amount of medication to sleep and put yourself in what a dark, cold room and the blankets, the weighted blankets,
Mm-hmm,
whatever.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
for a lot of us, that's just masking the problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And I know you talked about, Lane, that slowing down, right? How many people really struggle with
Mm-hmm.
slowing down because we're busy? We've got so many things.
Oh.
I'm curious, Lane, for our audience, how
Mm-hmm.
can they take slowing down from a different perspective
Yeah.
for holistic wellness and overall longevity? Because as in, you don't want to end up like you where you're
Yeah.
being wheeled into the ER and now you're down for months. How
Yeah.
can people reframe that phrase of slowing down?
Yeah. I like this idea of wellness, right? It's like I want to be happy. I want to be joyful. So that means I need to care for my body. Like this is the perspective shift that I've had. I'm committed to going to the beach every day, no matter what. It's like I've had to reassess my life because people that nobody wants to slow down, not in today's world. It's hard to just eat a sandwich without doing anything, let alone take a walk, right? So it has to be intentional. And it's like, how long? It's like, this is what I ask. It's like, how long do you want to live this way? How long
Mm,
can you go? How long are you willing to be unhappy? Because at the end of the day, there's something you're running from. There's something
mm,
that you don't want to look at. There's something that's got you so wrapped up, and that's totally fine. But again, your body is so smart and it will bring you down. It will stop you. We just don't know when. And it could be ending your life early, 5 years, right? Like we just, or you could end up in the hospital or you have a heart attack or like there's so many things. So that's kind of it's not about, again, it doesn't have to be about slowing down. It's like, how happy do I want to be? How much joy do I want to experience every day? That has changed my perspective and my trajectory.
mm.
It's so helpful.
And I think the core question too is how long do I want to put up with this?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that is an honest accountable question of how long do I want to keep having these sleepless nights where I'm not rested when I get up, where I don't look forward to running my business or networking, or can't forget the Sunday night blues. How many of us remember those back in the day? And I even recognize sometimes when I start feeling that way, and I'm like, okay, something's got to shift here, something's got to change. Lane, for our audience, this has been an amazing conversation, and we're going to be wrapping up here soon. But before we conclude, Lane, I'm sure there's going to be individuals who want to connect with you, who want to learn more about your work. Please share with our audience how they can connect with you and if you have something coming up in the future.
Yeah, I have a masterclass on building your stress resilience. I do that twice a month, and you can find everything, all my information at lanekennedy.com.
Excellent. So for our audience, you can go to lanekennedy.com for any and all things that Lane has, the masterclass that she does. If there's possibly some type of movie or trailer that may come about for Lane's life, we hope so, then you'll be able to find that as well. And we'll include her website in the show notes. Well, everybody, that was Lane Kennedy that you heard from today on this episode of Grew with Portia. And that concludes our conversation for today. But I want to leave this with each and every one of you today. Think about how long you're going to keep that membership in the I'm Fine Club, and how long do you want to keep putting up with something that is making you unhappy and miserable. All right, everybody. That concludes for today. Until next time, peace and hair grease, everyone.